Next up, Tele Hudson. She's a salmon trawler from Southeast and many other things.
Thank you, Dave. And thank you all for being here. This, I've told you before, and a lot of us have told you before, this is a very magical weekend for everyone who takes this stage, and we could not do it without all of you who are here, whether you're here in this room tonight with us or listening. Thanks to KMUN, Coast Community Radio. Thank you for being here. Okay. So I have one piece to read here tonight, and it's called Change. The water was warm last summer. Dixon entrance to Sitka, Southeast Alaska felt eerily barren. No bait, no birds. All July and August, the coho were skittish, unwilling to school up or settle into traditionally favored spots. With no hot bites to run to, some boats tied up mid-season, unable to justify the cost of fuel for the fish they weren't catching. Newer fleetmates looked stunned, confessing they hadn't even broken 300 yet. They'd come in on good years, thinking those days were normal. As for Joel and me, Team Nurka finally had to practice patience. Notorious runners, always searching for something better. One of our elders once said about Joel, "That boy's jumpier than a fart in a skillet." But we stuck and stayed and tried to make it pay, grinding out days for meager 2-digit scores we would have bailed on mid-morning on previous years. When friends asked us how the season was going, we told them the word for the summer was underwhelming. Underwhelming. Spoken in true fisherman fashion, understated. Like shrugging, we did all right when you come back to town with the hold plugged and the water line sunk. Like green water washing over the windows, coffee cups swan diving to shards on the cabin floor, your partner in the anchorage asking for a weather report. It's nautical. Like the calm observation, the water was warm. Instead of screaming, WTF, what's happening? How did we get here? How did I get here? Anchorage, 1985. A faded 3x5 captures the moment. A 43-foot trimaran hovers in the center of the shot, suspended by a crane. My parents, veterinarians in the Mat-Su Valley, have spent the past 7 years building the Ascari in our landlocked backyard. 7 years toiling in the vet clinic every day, laboring deep into every night to create this moment, the long-awaited launch. My dad strains at the bow, a guideline tight in leather gloves, as my mom dashes to steady the stern. I am a child supervisor, hands stuffed in pockets, standing on a precipice with the Ascari, life cleaving into hemispheres of before and after, suspended between land and sea. That was 35 years ago. I'm 42 now, the same age my mom was when she traded her veterinary license for a troll permit. Imagine the courage to turn away from your education the business you'd built, your home, land itself. Sell it all, go all in, crafting an alternate future out of fiberglass, resin, dreams. Imagine believing in a dream envisioned, believing in it so profoundly as to sacrifice everything without any guarantees, to sacrifice, suffer even, for the sheer possibility of change. This December, the news broke that the Gulf of Alaska's cod fishery would be closed for the 2020 season. It's the first fishery to close not because of overfishing, but because a consequence of warming waters. Just yesterday, Alaska Fish and Game announced the Sitka-Sacro herring fishery likely won't happen this spring. Earlier projections had been a harvest target of 25,000 tons, up from last year's 13,000. They didn't catch the quota last year, or the year before that, just finally gave up, charging west to try other regions, other fisheries, leaving disgusted sighs of exhaust in their wake. I think about herring, a keystone species, their well-being essential to the survival of everyone above them on the food chain, including king salmon. And I think about money and how fisher folks are in the VIP seats, front and center as change washes over us. And you know those boats charging west in search of other regions, other fisheries? Their engines sound an awful lot like the band on the Titanic, playing on, playing on. And in my mind, they're playing with Tracy Chapman, and she's singing, "If you knew that you would die today, would you change?" After the fishing season, I spend winters selling the Nurka's catch. For many of my fleet mates, this is the dream. Get your boot in the door with an ice boat, work up to a freezer boat, cut out the middlemen, and sell your catch yourself. I answer their questions, watch them ascend the industry escalator, their determination to make it as they sacrifice, suffer even, for the dream of making a good life, catching fewer fish at a greater value. Meanwhile, over the past 5 years of slinging salmon to chefs in the surrounding counties, I've driven the equivalent of crossing the country 11 times, burning the miles to a soundtrack of NPR, listening to the latest on a melting Arctic and a blazing Australia, thinking about change, climate change, social change, spare change. This show sucks, change the channel, burn it all down, and start over systemic change. The ways we're socialized to believe we're supposed to change, moving on, up, up, up and away, striving for faster, better, more. Me, I want to slow down. The more I want is smaller, simpler, more quiet, more peace, a care-filled, purposeful present, more acts of kindness and compassion for you and for me too. This planet is spinning too fast and I want off. But how do you stop when your foot is one of billions slamming the pedal to the metal? Global change? I might as well be welded to this Chevy Astro. I am such a part of the machine. Last September, toward the end of the fishing season, I sat with a fleet mate. His birthday falls in August, smack dab in what's historically our second king opening. This year, for the first time, he tied up the boat and skipped the opening, a king opening, to welcome his 70th year rafting the Alsek River with loved ones instead. I never could have imagined doing that, he told me. His voice was equal parts awe and gratitude for his decision, and I wondered what it would be like if we all felt the security and freedom to make such audacious, life-giving choices, to be able to measure the value of pounds to dollars to your time's worth, your life's worth. Who among us can afford to do this? Who can afford not to? The water was warm last summer. No one denies that. Instead, we trade different takeaways. Some mock a teenage girl's urgent call to action, so direct and fierce, sacrilege to fishing's code of understatement. Others travel to D.C. to lobby to protect the Tongass, the world's largest remaining temperate rainforest, America's salmon forest. Searching for the magic words to urge people to care, to act, we resort to the language of money. What's it to you? I do it too. For every salmon I thank as I slice their gills, thank you, thank you. Life runs out the scuppers, and by the end of the season, I'm running numbers same as anyone else. How many fish, at how many pounds, at how many dollars, to fill how many orders. This is all part of a sea-to-plate story, and I've been living versions of it ever since I was that little girl landing in Sitka, jigging off the dock in Old Thompson Harbor with fellow boat kids, filling 5-gallon buckets with baby black cod. At the end of the day, we sold them to my friend's dad for halibut bait. He paid us in ice cream cones from the Dip and Sip. 35 years living this life with critical yet marrow deep devotion. Devotion like being lashed to the mast of a ship cradling you and me and all living things, thrashed by a perfect storm of capitalism, complicity, hypocrisy. As the wind catches its breath, we soothe each other with stories. Stories like when I was 26, crewing for my brother for a king opening, and he pulled a 30-pounder boat side, thick-bellied, not a shimmering scale missing, perfect and perfectly hooked through her snub nose. He slipped his gaff gently through the hook and popped it free, telling her, "Go find a river." That's what keeps me on this ship, you know. Faith in these moments when we do the unexpected, do the hard thing, when we go off script and show what we truly value. When the storm continues, but we're not passive. When we reach for the tools before us, science, history, culture, art, community, love, and we make a change. Thank you.
And who do we have here?
My name is Liza McQuaid.
Janet Thomas.
And where are you both from?
Portland.
Okay. And I understand this is your first time to the Fisher Poets Gathering.
It is, and you know what? This has been on my bucket list forever, and I just thought this is so great and so interesting that this year we finally made it happen. So,
Well, what do you think?
well, so far so good. We just came into town, so we're just kind of getting our feet under us. But yeah, we're really looking forward to it.
I see you have, I think I might have got a picture of you looking through that, or anything that you've marked off.
all kinds of things look great. We're looking forward to the poetry reading. It starts at 5. So, yeah.
We're kind of in our go with the flow mode, so we're just kind of flowing around, seeing what's happening. We were advised to check out different venues and see what we think.
And menus.
And menus, yes.
So, do you secretly have a thing for fishermen?
Oh, probably.
I have brothers that are fishermen in Hawaii, so I texted them and said I was coming, and they said, "Oh, sounds like fun." So.
Well, great. Okay. Well, thank you so much for taking time. Have a good time. Bye.
Good luck.